Have you ever wondered why some truths seem almost impossible to uncover, as if someone wanted them erased from history? What if the stories you've been told about the origins of humanity are only fragments, hiding a far more astonishing reality? For thousands of years, whispers of a secret have survived in the shadows, buried in texts that few have read, and even fewer have dared to understand. One of these texts, the Book of Enoch, speaks of beings called the Watchers, angels who crossed boundaries they were never meant to cross. But why were their actions hidden from humanity? What knowledge did they bring, and why did powerful forces ensure it would be forgotten? Some scholars believe the Watchers were not merely myth, but bearers of forbidden knowledge secrets about the cosmos, the stars, and the hidden laws of creation itself. The Book of Enoch describes visions of the heavens, celestial courts, and warnings that mankind should not know certain mysteries. For centuries, this text was removed from mainstream scripture, dismissed as heretical, yet fragments survived in Ethiopia and among ancient scrolls. Could it be that what we call myth is actually a warning, a memory of truths that once were accessible, but were deliberately concealed? Today, we will journey into this forbidden revelation. We will explore who the Watchers were, what they revealed, and what the consequences were for humanity. You will see why some knowledge was buried, how it was hidden by those in power, and what it might mean for your understanding of the world. By the end of this video, you may never look at history, the heavens, or the very story of humanity the same way again. If you're ready to uncover what was lost, to challenge the teachings you've always believed, make sure you subscribe and follow this channel. Here, we reveal truths that have been kept in the shadows, and together, we explore the mysteries that those in power tried to erase. The story of the Watchers begins with a warning that was meant to be ignored, a secret written in the Book of Enoch that few have ever read. These angels, some texts suggest, were assigned to watch over humanity, to guide and protect. But instead of remaining distant, they descended, drawn to the beauty and potential of mankind. Some scholars believe that in doing so, they broke the natural order, sharing knowledge that was considered too dangerous for human minds. They taught humans about the stars, the cycles of the heavens, and even the secrets of life and death. But why would such knowledge be forbidden? Why would a divine warning tell men not to look too closely at these teachings? Over time, those who recorded history, including early religious authorities, worked to erase or distort these revelations. The Book of Enoch was excluded from canonical texts in most traditions, considered apocryphal and dismissed as myth. Yet within its pages lie details that hint at a profound truth. Humans once had access to wisdom that connected the earthly and the divine, and the Watchers' knowledge threatened to expose the mechanisms of power in the heavens and on earth. The very act of hiding this text was a way to control the story of humanity, shaping belief and limiting understanding. The hidden teachings of the Watchers are not only about astronomy or science, they touch on the very essence of morality, free will, and consciousness. By knowing certain things, humans could perceive the world in ways that the ruling powers deemed dangerous. Some researchers suggest that the forbidden knowledge involved understanding the origins of evil, the manipulation of creation, and even the secrets behind human desires and suffering. Every fragment of this teaching that survived was carefully preserved by those who sought to warn future generations while keeping the majority in ignorance. As you listen, ask yourself, what do we take for granted as history? How much of what we believe was filtered to protect us, or to protect power? The Watcher's prophecy is not just a tale of angels and men. It is a reflection of a deeper, hidden struggle over knowledge, control, and destiny. In the next block, we will explore the historical and textual evidence that shows how this knowledge was transmitted, concealed, and almost entirely lost, and why some truths were considered too dangerous for ordinary eyes. To truly understand what the Watchers wanted humanity to know, we must first explore the symbols and hidden meanings behind their teachings. The Book of Enoch is filled with vivid imagery, stars that speak, heavenly tablets, and celestial hierarchies But these are not just poetic devices. They are coded messages meant to convey knowledge about the universe, the cycles of creation, and the hidden laws that govern life. Some scholars suggest that when the text speaks of angels teaching humans about the secrets of the heavens, it is referring to advanced knowledge of astronomy, cycles of time, and even the nature of energy and matter, all framed in symbolic language that would survive generations. One of the central concepts in the Enochian text is that of the fallen angels or watchers. The term fallen is often misunderstood. It does not merely signify punishment, but a crossing of boundaries, an angelic overreach into human experience. By sharing forbidden knowledge, these beings blurred the line between divine wisdom and moral comprehension. Gnostics saw this as a mirror of the human condition, a struggle to access divine truth while being bound by earthly limitations. The Watchers' teachings were meant to awaken awareness, to expand consciousness beyond the confines imposed by those who sought to maintain control. Within these teachings, certain symbols appear repeatedly. The stars, representing knowledge and guidance, the heavenly tablets as repositories of forbidden truths, and the human-divine connection, symbolized by acts of transgression that were really invitations to enlightenment. The Gnostics believed that, by understanding these symbols, one could achieve gnosis, true knowledge of oneself, the cosmos, and the hidden forces that influence life. Some texts even imply that the Watchers' warnings were as much about the misuse of this knowledge as its possession, emphasizing responsibility and discernment over blind pursuit. Now, consider this. If knowledge was dangerous enough to be erased from mainstream history, what does that say about our current understanding of reality? How much have we lost simply because the powerful decided that humans were not ready for the truth? The Watcher's prophecy serves as both a caution and a revelation. It challenges us to see beyond appearances, to question the narratives handed down, and to awaken to the hidden truths that have always been within reach, yet carefully obscured. In the next block, we will uncover who deliberately concealed this knowledge, and why the story of the Watchers was almost lost forever. The story of the Watchers does not end with their teachings. It continues in the deliberate erasure of their wisdom. Powerful institutions and religious authorities throughout history sought to control what humanity could know, often labeling the Enochian texts as heretical or dangerous. By dismissing the Book of Enoch and other apocryphal writings, they effectively buried the knowledge the Watchers brought, limiting access to the secrets that could awaken human consciousness. Some scholars believe this suppression was not merely about maintaining religious orthodoxy, but about controlling the narrative of creation, itself keeping humanity unaware of the cosmic hierarchies and forces that shape life. The Watchers' knowledge revealed uncomfortable truths, that there were forces manipulating humanity from above, that the origins of evil and corruption were not always human, and that divine wisdom was accessible yet restricted. By erasing these texts, those in power ensured that generations would grow up with a partial story, blind to the larger spiritual and cosmic context. Even fragments that survived were often hidden in isolated communities, such as the Ethiopic Church, or preserved in cryptic passages that required interpretation, keeping the truth out of reach for the masses. In addition, the Watchers' teachings were intertwined with forbidden knowledge about human potential. They hinted at powers of perception, understanding, and even mastery over certain natural and spiritual laws, abilities that, if widely known, could challenge the authority of kings, priests, and rulers who depended on ignorance to maintain control. This is why their story was obscured, their texts burned, and their names whispered only in secret. Humanity was denied the opportunity to fully grasp these revelations, leaving us to stumble in darkness, unaware of the warnings and guidance that were once offered. Reflect for a moment. How often do we accept the history and knowledge handed to us without questioning what might be missing? What truths have been deliberately hidden? And how would your perception of the world change if you truly understood the secrets the Watchers tried to pass on? These questions lead us to the turning point of the story, the moment when the forgotten prophecy begins to reveal itself. offering insights that could forever change the way we understand life, creation, and the very nature of existence. In the next block, we will explore this revelation and the awakening the Watchers intended for humanity. At the heart of the Watchers' prophecy lies a revelation that has been obscured for millennia, a truth that challenges everything we think we know about our origins, our purpose, and the very structure of the cosmos. The Book of Enoch hints that humanity was never meant to be completely ignorant. The divine intended for us to reach higher awareness, to perceive the hidden forces that shape our lives. The Watchers came to bridge that gap, offering forbidden knowledge, not to dominate, but to awaken. They warned that ignorance was the true imprisonment, and by concealing their teachings, the world had been kept in a shadow of partial understanding. This revelation carries profound implications. The boundaries between the divine and human, heaven and earth, are more permeable than we are told. The Watchers taught that knowledge is a path to liberation, a way to see through the manipulations of power and the distortions imposed by those who feared enlightenment. Some texts describe their guidance as a kind of spiritual map, pointing toward understanding the cycles of creation, the nature of the soul, and the origins of corruption. What was once hidden begins to surface when we examine these symbols and stories carefully, recognizing patterns that the powerful hoped we would never notice. It is important to note that the awakening the Watchers offered was not about rebellion without understanding. It was about discernment, responsibility, and the courage to seek truth even when it challenges authority. Gnostic thinkers echoed this, seeing the hidden knowledge as a tool to liberate the spirit, to reconnect with divine wisdom that had been obscured. By embracing this teaching, humanity could reclaim awareness of its higher potential, realizing that the constraints imposed on us were not absolute, but constructed by those who wished to control perception and belief. Ask yourself, what does it mean to truly awaken to knowledge that was deliberately hidden? How does understanding the Watchers' warnings change the way you see your own life, your choices, and the forces that shape your reality? This is not just a story of angels and humans, but a call to consciousness, a reminder that wisdom, once forbidden, still reaches those willing to seek it. In the next block, we will connect this revelation to the present, exploring how it affects your life, your decisions, and your understanding of truth today. The prophecy of the Watchers is not just a story of the distant past. It is a warning and a guide for our lives today. Even now, the influence of hidden knowledge and concealed truths shapes the way we perceive the world, our decisions, and our relationships. Consider how many times society, institutions, or authorities present only fragments of reality, leaving the rest obscured. The Watchers' teachings remind us that this has always been the case. Power often relies on controlling what we know, and ignorance can be a prison as binding as chains. By awakening to the possibility that there is more than what we are shown, we reclaim the ability to think critically, to question received truths, and to recognize patterns that guide our lives in ways we may not consciously notice. The hidden wisdom of the Watchers encourages us to look beyond appearances, to question the stories we have been told about morality, creation, and the limits of human potential. Some scholars argue that the knowledge they shared about the stars, the cycles of time, the spiritual hierarchies is symbolic of the internal processes of human consciousness. By understanding the secrets of the heavens, we begin to understand the secrets within ourselves, how our thoughts, emotions, and choices interact with the larger currents of life, how awareness can be both a shield and a weapon, and how knowledge carries responsibility. The Watchers' warning was clear. Enlightenment is not passive, it is active. It requires discernment, courage, and commitment. For the modern seeker, this means reflecting on how much of what we accept as reality is filtered, censored, or distorted. How often do we question the narratives of history, religion, and society? How often do we challenge the assumptions we carry about right and wrong, power and freedom, knowledge and ignorance? The Watchers' prophecy invites us to awaken, to see that some truths were buried, not because they were dangerous in themselves, but because those in power feared the consequences of humanity understanding them. Today, as we uncover these fragments, we gain the opportunity to reclaim lost wisdom, to perceive the hidden dimensions of life, and to cultivate awareness that transcends the superficial layers imposed upon us. Imagine that the forbidden knowledge of the Watchers is not just about stars and angels, but about understanding yourself and your place in the cosmos. Every insight you gain is a step toward seeing the world more clearly, a step toward freedom from manipulation, and a step toward a life guided by discernment rather than blind obedience. Ask yourself now, what truths are you ready to confront? What knowledge have you ignored because it seemed too challenging or unsettling? Reflect on this in the comments, share your thoughts, and begin the process of awakening. By engaging, you not only honor the message of the Watchers, but also join a community of seekers committed to uncovering what has long been hidden. The prophecy of the Watchers is more than an ancient story. It is a call to awaken, a reminder that knowledge has always been guarded, distorted, and hidden from those who are not deemed ready. We have journeyed through fragments of the Book of Enoch, explored the symbols of the stars, the tablets, and the fallen angels, and uncovered the truth that some wisdom was deliberately concealed to control perception, to keep humanity in partial darkness. But even in the shadows, these revelations have survived, waiting for those willing to seek, question, and reflect. The Watcher's message is clear. Enlightenment comes not from blind faith, but from curiosity, discernment, and the courage to confront hidden truths. By understanding their warning, we begin to perceive the subtle forces shaping our lives, the invisible hierarchies, the distorted narratives, the manipulations of power that extend from ancient times to the present day. This knowledge empowers us. It allows us to make conscious choices, to recognize when our understanding is limited, and to pursue truth beyond what we are told. Some scholars argue that this awakening is not just personal, but collective. When enough individuals reclaim these insights, the boundaries of human consciousness expand, and the patterns of history begin to reveal themselves more clearly. We are part of this unfolding, the inheritors of knowledge that was almost lost. Now, I invite you to participate actively in this journey. Reflect on what you have learned, consider the implications of concealed knowledge, and share your thoughts in the comments. Write a short prayer, a reflection, or even a question inspired by the Watcher's prophecy. Engaging in this way is more than a gesture. It is a commitment to keeping the memory of these hidden truths alive and to joining a community of seekers who refuse to accept half-truths. Like, share, and subscribe, not merely for content, but to honor the path of discovery, to connect with others who are exploring the mysteries of the universe, and to continue this journey together. As you close your eyes tonight or look to the stars, ask yourself, what have I yet to understand about the forces shaping my life? Which truths have I ignored because they seemed forbidden or uncomfortable? And what would it mean to truly awaken, as the Watchers intended, to a deeper understanding of existence? The search does not end here. It begins anew every time we question, reflect, and seek. The knowledge of the Watchers is not lost. It waits for those willing to open their eyes and see beyond the veil.